Eric Holder put out that local and federal law enforcement offices are no longer going to be able to use federal laws to justify seizing property without evidence of a crime, with the exception of that property being dangerous, like a gun or anything like that. Now, this is to have like a step forward in like a comprehensive Justice Department, which I think is sorely needed, because there's a lot of people who get their things stolen. There are a lot of people who get stopped for no reason and money's taken away from them, expensive, items are taken away from them, and there's no repercussion for this by the cops. And they can do this without having any evidence of wrongdoing on your part. They can just pull you over and be like, hey, I want to search you, and it's because I'm throwing this up the chain of the federal law that allows me to do it, and I'm going to do whatever I want. Now, apparently this type of search method did like a boom during the drug war, of course. So there was like a spike in it starting in the 80s, and it's just gotten completely out of hand. So this is usually an excuse to search people who are suspected of drug-related incidents, whether it's real or not. A cop can pretend to say that they smell weed, and then everything in your house or your car is going to get searched. So now Eric Holder is trying to put a stop on that or a break. Now, for me, it's just federal laws that you cannot use. So that doesn't guarantee that you will never have to deal with this ever again. There could be state laws that are put in place that still allow for this kind of search and seizure thing to happen. But it is interesting to have this move forward and make life a little bit easier for the citizens who are pretty much getting harassed by a lot of officers who are doing the boys in blue a disservice by presenting themselves in a very negative fashion.
You brought up a really good point about the states. I read reports where a large majority of that money through civil forfeiture gets redirected right to the local and state police departments, and so to think that they would give up that so easily is kind of like nonsensical, because when it represents such a large chunk of your budget, you're going to try and find other ways to justify this through the state. So I don't personally think that we've seen the end of this, although I do want to give Eric Holder some credit on saying that, hey, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Sure. I mean, yeah, it's careless whispers, in my opinion, because, once you get to the state level, whatever state laws that are there, and I'm assuming that a lot of states already have laws in place that would facilitate this type of method, but it is somewhat of like a symbolic gesture to show that the legal system or the Justice Department, at the very least at a federal level, is trying to shift itself away from this type of method. Although I think Eric Holder has an uphill battle to fight, because, like you pointed out, there's a lot of money to be made through these seizures. There's a lot of, and it's not just actual cash, but let's say they seize somebody's vehicle, they do auction those vehicles off later on, and that money gets, funneled back in to fight the drug war for whatever reason. And considering how a lot of people aren't really doing a lot of dangerous crimes, crime is going down at an exponential rate for the past decade, they're going to try to find more things to catch people on. Misdemeanors and small infractions are definitely going to have a harder focus. So it's good that Eric Holder is trying to do this. How much good it's going to do, how effective it's going to be, is to be later determined. Because I don't
it'll be really interesting to see how state and local police municipalities will try to work around this announcement, and how it's even going to play out. As well as, does this mean that people, that if it happens, and it still happen, will it mean that people can go to court? Originally through this, that's what they had to do. In order to get their stuff back, they had to go through a court, right? And the judge usually, there was usually a conflict of interest with the judge as well when it came to this. So a lot of people, would lose their cases and still get their stuff stolen, or at least it would be a huge roadblock involving lots of fees when it comes to court systems. It was a really onerous process in order to get your shit back. And so, I'm just wondering how this is going to play out.
Right, and even that process in itself drains money. Like the court, you don't go through that court in that process for free. A lot of times you have to pay to do all that stuff. So even that has an implication of, losing some type of revenue for the court system. So it's like it's an uphill battle, but at least Eric Holder is paying attention if anybody else isn't. So that's a good thing.
And I don't want to minimize how this is actually, a good step forward. And it may be sound like that I'm trying to minimize it and everything, or trying to get, cast. I have questions. That's all. I just want to see how it's going to play out. But overall, I think this is positive. I think Eric Holder has actually been stepping up and doing a better job as of late. I don't know what caused it, but
well, he only has 2 years left of an ally, and then it's going to be fucked up if he stays. So it's I have a feeling that they're doing, both Eric Holder and President Obama are kind of just trying to ram home every last piece of liberal, whatever they can come up with, liberal shit that they can possibly get away with. They're just going to push it through. But I mean, even prior to this being the last 2 years, Eric Holder's kind of just been a little bit more rational and reasonable about the justice system and implementing certain policies that would be more helpful. And it's obvious that there's this air of animosity with the citizens towards police officers and police officers towards citizens increasingly. So it's something needs to be done to kind of remedy that and kind of just simmer that all down, because eventually it's going to boil over. And we already have our crazy right-wing people who collect guns and have doomsday, closets full of like 3-month rations and shit just in case the government comes and gets them. So it's like we already have these people who are in this mindset. The worst thing that could happen is to spread that mindset out and have the citizens believe that they're completely in like this police state and they have no way of, getting justice for themselves in the face of police officers. With things happening like Eric Gardner, and Michael Brown and all that stuff, is kind of feeling like cops can do whatever they want without any type of repercussion, and nobody can have a say in it. There's no way to fight it, and even if there is, it's going to be purposefully just unbelievably difficult to get your stuff back or get justice for yourself.